Beanella, the brave little heart. Long ago, in a quiet village, lived Marina, a kind woman longing for a child. Every night, under the silver moonlight, she whispered her heartfelt wish. If only I could be a mother. One magical night, as the moon bathed her garden in light, a gentle voice spoke. Your wish has touched my heart. Marina turned to see a fairy, radiant and kind. The fairy held out a tiny shimmering bean. Plant this with love, and your wish will come true, she said before vanishing. Overjoyed, Marina planted the bean in a special pot, nurturing it with care and hope. Little did she know, her life was about to change forever. Days turned into weeks as Marina tended to the little bean. She watered it with care, sang lullabies, and placed it by the window to soak in the warm sunlight. Her heart filled with anticipation every time she checked for signs of life. One morning, as the first rays of dawn peeked through the sky, Marina noticed something extraordinary. The soil had shifted, and a tiny green sprout had emerged, glowing faintly with a magical light. Marina's heart swelled with joy. She whispered, "You're here, little one." As the sprout grew taller each day, something astonishing happened. One evening, it began to shimmer brightly. From within its delicate leaves, a tiny figure emerged, a beautiful little girl, no bigger than Marina's thumb. "Hello, Mother," the tiny girl said in a sweet voice. Marina's eyes filled with tears. She cradled the little girl in her hands and named her Beanella, after the magical bean that had brought her to life. From that moment, Marina's world sparkled with happiness. Though she knew her tiny daughter's size would bring unique challenges, Beanella quickly became the light of Marina's life. Despite her tiny size, she was full of energy and curiosity. She would dance on the petals of flowers, drink dewdrops from leaves, and play hide-and-seek among the garden's blossoms. Marina crafted a tiny bed from a walnut shell, lined with soft flower petals, and sewed little dresses from the silk of dandelions. Every day, she marveled at how such a small being could bring so much joy. But Beanella's smallness also brought challenges. Birds often mistook her for a shiny insect, and the wind could sweep her off her feet. Marina never let her out of sight, always worrying for her safety. One day, as Beanella played near a sparkling stream, a dark shadow loomed over her. Before she could call out, a giant toad leaped out and snatched her away. "Help! Mother!" Beanella cried as the toad disappeared into the forest. Marina's heart sank, her tiny daughter was gone. The toad carried Beanella to a muddy pond deep in the forest. Placing her on a large lily pad, the toad croaked, "You'll make a perfect bride for my son." Terrified, Beanella looked around. The water was cold and murky, and the toad's croaky laugh echoed in her ears. On another lily pad sat the toad's son, an awkward, slimy creature staring at her with wide, bulging eyes. "I don't want to stay here," Beanella cried. But the toads ignored her pleas. They croaked loudly, celebrating the wedding they were planning. As night fell, Beanella sat on the lily pad, tears streaming down her face. She gazed at the stars, wishing for help. Then, She heard a soft ripple in the water. A fish swam up to her and whispered, "Don't worry, little one. We'll help you escape." The fish and his friends began gnawing at the stem of the lily pad. Slowly but surely, the pad broke free and started floating down the stream. Beanella held on tightly as the current carried her away from the toads. Though she was free, she had no idea where the stream would take her. The stream carried Beanella through the forest, its gentle ripples turning into a swift current. Clinging to the lily pad, she felt both relief and fear. The night was dark, and strange sounds echoed around her, hooting owls, rustling leaves, and the occasional splash of water. Just as dawn broke, the lily pad got caught in a tangle of reeds. Beanella tried to free herself but was too small to push through the thick stems. Exhausted, she sat down, unsure of what to do. Suddenly, a friendly dragonfly landed nearby. "You look lost. Can I help you?" it asked, its delicate wings glimmering in the sunlight. Beanella explained her plight. The dragonfly nodded. "Climb on my back, I'll take you to a safer place." With a little leap, Beanella hopped onto the dragonfly's back. It soared above the forest, giving her a breathtaking view of the world. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. But their flight was short-lived. A curious sparrow spotted them and darted forward, thinking Beanella was an insect. The dragonfly veered sharply to escape, but the sudden movement caused Beanella to tumble off, landing softly on a bed of moss below. Alone once more, Beanella looked around the unfamiliar forest, her heart pounding. Where would she go next? After her fall, Beanella wandered through the forest, weary and hungry. The towering trees and rustling leaves seemed endless, and she longed for the safety of her mother's arms. As dusk settled, Beanella stumbled upon a small burrow nestled at the base of an old tree. Peeking inside, she saw two mice busy gathering grains. Their tiny voices were warm and welcoming. "Come in, dear," said the mother mouse. "You look like you've had a rough journey. Stay with us tonight." Grateful for their kindness, Beanella accepted. The mice shared their food, crumbs of bread and seeds, and offered her a cozy corner lined with soft moss to rest. Over the next few days, Beanella grew close to the mouse family. She helped them gather food and tidied the burrow. They treated her like one of their own. And for a while, Beanella felt safe. But her comfort was short-lived. One evening, the father mouse returned with troubling news. "Our neighbor, the mole, has heard of Beanella," he said. "He's rich and powerful, and wants her to be his bride." Before Beanella could protest, the mole appeared at the entrance of the burrow. His dark eyes gleamed as he grumbled, "You will be mine." Beanella's heart sank. She realized she would have to find a way to escape again. The mole, dressed in a tattered velvet coat, stomped into the mice's burrow. His voice was deep and gruff as he addressed Beanella. "I have tunnels lined with gold and storerooms filled with treasures. You'll want for nothing as my wife." Beanella shivered at his words. Though the mole was wealthy, he was cold and stern, and the thought of living underground in eternal darkness terrified her. The mice, intimidated by the mole's wealth and power, encouraged Beanella to accept. "It's a good match," said the mother mouse. "You'll be safe with him." But Beanella couldn't imagine giving up her freedom. "Thank you," she said politely, "but I must decline." The mole's smile turned into a scowl. "You'll regret this," he growled. "No one says no to me." That night, Beanella lay awake, heart pounding. She couldn't stay in the burrow, it was no longer safe. When the mice were asleep, she quietly gathered her belongings, a tiny leaf pouch Marina had made for her, and slipped out into the forest under the cover of darkness. The cool night air filled her lungs as she ran. She didn't know where she was headed, but she knew she had to keep moving. Beanella was determined to find her way back to freedom and the life she longed for. Beanella wandered through the forest until she stumbled into a breathtaking meadow filled with vibrant flowers of every color. The petals glistened with morning dew, and the air was alive with the hum of bees and the flutter of butterflies. Exhausted but enchanted, Beanella rested on the soft center of a sunflower. As she looked around, she noticed tiny creatures flitting about, small as herself and adorned with gossamer wings. They were flower sprites, guardians of the meadow. "Who are you, little one?" asked a sprite with wings that shimmered like rainbows. "I'm Beanella," she replied. "I've been on a long journey, running from danger." The sprites welcomed her warmly. They gave her nectar to drink and petals to wear as a new dress. For the first time in days, Beanella felt safe. As she explored the meadow, she discovered its wonders, hidden pools, glowing mushrooms, and flowers that sang in the breeze. The sprites taught her how to dance with the wind and glide on the currents of air. But as much as she loved this magical world, Beanella's heart ached for her mother. She knew she couldn't stay here forever. One evening, as the fireflies lit up the meadow, a sprite whispered, "There's a kingdom nearby where you might find help. A prince as small as you lives there. He's kind and wise, perhaps he can guide you home." With hope rekindled, Beanella decided to seek the prince, even if it meant another journey into the unknown. At dawn, Beanella bid farewell to the flower sprites, who wished her luck and pointed her toward the nearby kingdom. Following their directions, she crossed fields of blooming daisies and sparkling streams until she reached a small, hidden grove. There, a grand palace made of crystal petals and golden vines stood shimmering in the sunlight. Tiny figures bustled about, residents of the kingdom, all as small as Beanella. She marveled at the sight, feeling like she had finally found a place where she truly belonged. As she approached the palace gates, a royal guard stopped her. "State your business," he said. "I'm searching for the prince," Beanella replied. "I need his help to return home." The guard nodded and escorted her inside. In the throne room, Beanella saw him, the prince of the kingdom, a young man with bright eyes and a warm smile. He wore a crown made of glittering leaves and carried himself with kindness and confidence. "Welcome to the kingdom of tiny hearts," the prince said, his voice gentle. "What brings you here?" Beanella told him her story, the magical bean, the toads, the mole, and her journey to find safety. The prince listened intently, his expression filled with empathy. "You've been through so much," he said. "You're brave and strong, Beanella. I'll help you in any way I can." The prince offered her a place to stay in the palace, promising to help her find her way home. As Beanella settled in, she couldn't help but feel a connection to the prince. A spark of something new and hopeful beginning to bloom in her heart. Life in the kingdom of tiny hearts was unlike anything Beanella had ever known. The palace was filled with wonders, crystal chandeliers that reflected rainbows, fountains of sparkling nectar, and music that floated like a gentle breeze. The prince, whose name was Arlen, made sure Beanella felt at home. He showed her the royal gardens, where flowers the size of trees towered above, and introduced her to the kingdom's kind-hearted citizens. Day by day, Beanella and Arlen spent more time together. They shared stories of their lives, dreams, and hopes. Arlen admired Beanella's courage and resilience, while Beanella was touched by his compassion and wisdom. One evening, as they sat by a shimmering pool under the moonlight, Arlen turned to Beanella. "You're unlike anyone I've ever met," he said. "You've faced so much and still carry a light in your heart." Beanella blushed, her tiny hands clasped together. "It's because I've always believed in kindness and hope, even when things seemed impossible." Their bond grew deeper with each passing day. Though neither spoke of it aloud, both began to wonder if fate had brought them together for more than just a passing moment. Yet, as happy as she was, Beanella's thoughts often wandered back to her mother. She shared her longing with Arlen, who promised, "We'll find a way to reunite you with your mother. Until then, you'll always have a home here." For the first time in her journey, Beanella felt not only safe but loved. Little did she know, challenges still lay ahead that would test the strength of her newfound happiness. Just as Beanella began to feel at peace in the kingdom of tiny hearts, trouble crept into their happiness. One morning, a royal messenger rushed into the palace with grave news. The mole, furious at Beanella's escape, had been tunneling toward the kingdom. His army of burrowing creatures threatened to destroy the beautiful gardens and disrupt the harmony of the land. Arlen called a council of the kingdom's wisest advisors. "We must act swiftly," he declared. "Our kingdom cannot fall to such greed and malice." Hearing this, Beanella felt a pang of guilt. "This is my fault," she whispered. "The mole is only here because of me." Arlen placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You are not to blame," he said firmly. "We will face this together." Determined to help, Beanella joined the sprites and citizens in fortifying the gardens. Using her knowledge from her time with the mice, she helped devise ways to collapse tunnels and secure the roots of the kingdom's largest trees. But as night fell, the ground began to tremble. The mole and his army emerged, their claws gleaming in the moonlight. "Surrender Beanella to me," the mole roared. Beanella stepped forward, her voice steady. "I will not go with you. You cannot force me to live in darkness." The mole sneered. "Then your precious kingdom will pay the price." Just as he was about to strike, Arlen drew a gleaming blade crafted from a thorn. "You will harm no one here," he said, his voice unwavering. Beside him, the citizens of the kingdom stood united, ready to defend their home. The battle was about to begin, and Beanella knew she had to summon all her courage to protect the place and the people she had come to love. Under the moonlight, the battle began. The mole and his army charged toward the gardens, their claws tearing through the earth. But the kingdom of tiny hearts was ready. Flower sprites zipped through the air, dropping sticky nectar onto the invaders, while the citizens used thorny vines to block the tunnels. Beanella, small but fearless, took charge of guiding the defenses. She climbed to the top of a sunflower and shouted, "Protect the roots of the palace. Block the eastern tunnel." Her quick thinking and courage inspired everyone around her. Prince Arlen fought alongside his people, wielding his thorn blade with precision. He stood as a beacon of hope, pushing back the mole's forces. The mole, however, was relentless. "This is your last chance, Beanella," he bellowed, his claws digging into the ground. "Come with me, or I'll destroy everything you hold dear." Beanella's heart pounded, but she stood firm. "You cannot win, Mole," she said, her voice steady. "This kingdom is built on love and unity, something you'll never understand." At that moment, the flower sprites unleashed their secret weapon, a shimmering powder made from enchanted pollen. When the powder touched the mole and his army, they became drowsy and sluggish, their strength fading. Realizing he was defeated, the mole roared in frustration. "This isn't over," he growled before retreating into the darkness of his tunnels, his army following behind. As the ground stilled and the gardens stood unharmed, cheers erupted throughout the kingdom. Beanella climbed down from the sunflower, exhausted but victorious. Arlen approached her, a smile on his face. "You saved us, Beanella. Your bravery has brought light to our darkest hour." Beanella smiled back, though her thoughts lingered on her journey. The kingdom was safe, but her heart still yearned for the home she had left behind. As the kingdom celebrated its victory, Beanella found a quiet moment under the starlit sky to reflect. Though she had grown to love the kingdom of tiny hearts, her heart ached for her mother. Sensing her sadness, Prince Arlen approached. "You've done so much for us," he said gently. "It's time we help you fulfill your own wish." The next morning, Arlen called for the wisest sprite in the kingdom. The sprite, an elder with wings that shimmered like silver, listened to Beanella's story and nodded. "There is one who can help, the fairy who planted the seed of your life." With the kingdom's blessings, Beanella and Arlen set off to find the fairy. Guided by the elder sprite's directions, they traveled through enchanted forests and crossed sparkling streams until they reached a glade bathed in golden light. There, the fairy appeared, radiant as ever. "Beanella," she said with a kind smile, "you have grown into someone brave and full of love. What is it you wish for now?" Tears welled up in Beanella's eyes. "I wish to see my mother again, to tell her I'm safe and happy." The fairy waved her wand, and a pair of delicate wings, translucent and glimmering, appeared on Beanella's back. "These wings will carry you wherever your heart desires," the fairy said. "But they are also a reminder of your freedom and strength. Use them wisely." Beanella looked at Arlen, unsure. "Will you come with me?" she asked. Arlen smiled. "Wherever you go, I'll be by your side." With her new wings and Arlen at her side, Beanella felt a surge of hope. It was time to go home. With her new wings, Beanella soared through the sky, Arlen flying beside her. The world below was vast and beautiful, But her heart guided her to the familiar little cottage where her journey began. As they descended, Beanella saw her mother, Marina, sitting by the garden, gazing at the moonlit flowers with a wistful expression. "Mother!" Beanella called out, her voice ringing with joy. Marina looked up, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Beanella? Is it really you?" Beanella flew into her mother's open hands, tears streaming down both their faces. "I've missed you so much," Beanella said, her tiny arms embracing her mother's fingers. Marina held her close, marveling at the delicate wings on her back and the strength in her eyes. "You've grown so much, my little one. I always knew you'd find your way back to me." Arlen stepped forward, bowing politely. "I'm Prince Arlen. Your daughter's bravery saved not just our kingdom but my heart as well." Marina smiled warmly. "Thank you for protecting her." For days, they shared stories of Beanella's journey and her new life in the kingdom of tiny hearts. Marina, though sad to part again, understood Beanella's destiny lay beyond their little cottage. "I'll always love you, no matter where you go," Marina said, her voice steady but tender. Before they departed, the fairy appeared once more. "Your bond is unbreakable," she said, blessing their reunion. With a wave of her wand, she ensured that Beanella could return to her mother whenever she wished. With that promise, Beanella and Arlen set off, their wings catching the golden light of the setting sun. Though she left her mother's embrace, Beanella knew she carried her love wherever she went. The kingdom of tiny hearts welcomed them back with cheers. And Beanella was celebrated not only as a hero but as someone who had proven that love and courage could conquer any challenge. From that day forward, Beanella lived happily, visiting her mother often, with Arlen always by her side, a life filled with love, freedom, and adventure. Back in the kingdom of tiny hearts, life returned to its peaceful rhythm. But for Beanella and Arlen, a new chapter was just beginning. With the bond they had forged through their shared adventures, the two realized their hearts were forever intertwined. One radiant morning, Arlen led Beanella to the royal gardens, where the flowers seemed to bloom brighter than ever. In the heart of the garden, he knelt before her, holding a ring crafted from the finest golden vine, adorned with a dew-kissed diamond. "Beanella," he said, his voice full of warmth, "you've shown me what courage, kindness, and love truly mean. Will you be my queen and rule this kingdom by my side?" Tears of joy sparkled in Beanella's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Arlen, with all my heart." The kingdom celebrated their union with a grand festival, where sprites danced in the air, flowers sang melodies, and the stars above seemed to shine just for them. Marina, who was brought to the kingdom by the fairy's magic, stood proudly by her daughter's side during the ceremony. As Beanella and Arlen ruled together, their love brought prosperity and happiness to the land. They created a kingdom where kindness and bravery were cherished, and no one, no matter how small, was ever overlooked. Beanella, once a tiny girl born from a magical bean, became a symbol of hope, proving that even the smallest among us can achieve greatness. And so, Beanella's story ended as it began, with love, courage, and the promise of new adventures. As she and Arlen lived happily ever after.